Hitting 9 of his 14 threes and pouring in 31 points, Brook Lopez was the biggest reason the Clippers pulled off that comeback against the Blazers a few nights ago. Many now see him as one of the most successful center transformations of the small ball era. Before people ever joked about Embiid, the one who truly flipped the definition of a traditional center was Brook Lopez. A 7-foot big man averaging fewer than 5 rebounds a game, yet falling more and more in love with the three-point shot. Back then, everyone mocked him for not doing his job, but in reality, he was ahead of his time. In the 2008 NBA draft, as Stanford's interior cornerstone, Lopez was taken 10th overall by the Nets. At the time, he had just finished his sophomore season, averaging 19.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks. Draft reports labeled him a polished low-post scorer. His fundamentals were far beyond most players his age, so much so that some even called him the next Tim Duncan. Back then, he was the textbook example of a traditional center. Post-ups, rim protection, boxing out, he did it all. Right from the start, Lopez carved out his place in the NBA with refined post moves, quickly becoming the Nets' interior anchor. As a rookie, he grabbed 20 rebounds in a game against the Bobcats, and his scoring was steady and reliable. There really was a hint of Duncan to him. By his third season, he was already averaging over 20 points, and in 2012-13, he made his first All-Star team. Then came 2013, when the Nets formed their so-called Big Four, and Lopez was ready to make a real push. Even after Garnett and Pierce joined the Nets, Lopez's role remained solid, still putting up 20+ a night. But disaster struck. He broke his right foot that season and was ruled out for the year. As the Nets' playoff results fell short and veterans began to leave, the team, having mortgaged its future picks, slid into a rebuild. Lopez stayed, once again shouldering the burden of being the franchise leader. Years of bruising battles in the paint took their toll. He suffered 3 major ankle injuries, undergoing multiple surgeries that left metal pins in his foot. At the same time, the league was undergoing a silent revolution. When the Warriors won the title in 2015-16, the small ball era officially arrived. The Rockets and Warriors pushed three-point shooting to unprecedented heights, leaving many traditional centers on the brink of extinction. Lopez, still refining his post game, became one of the first casualties. The league began demanding floor-spacing bigs. Static centers were being phased out. And for someone like Lopez, big, heavy, and not especially quick, failing to adapt meant being left behind. In his first 8 NBA seasons, Lopez had attempted just 3 total three-pointers. Change was both painful and urgent. In 2016-17, his final season in Brooklyn, head coach Kenny Atkinson noticed Lopez's smooth mid-range touch and encouraged him to extend it beyond the arc, to evolve into a stretch 5. That was the beginning of his rebirth. In 2016-17, Lopez started firing from deep regularly, averaging 5.2 threes per game and hitting them at a 34.6% clip. He knocked down 151 threes that season, setting an NBA record for most made threes by a center. That transformation allowed him to survive in the new system, with the three ball becoming a permanent part of his game. The percentage wasn't elite, but it was enough to keep defenders honest. By season's end, he had scored 10,444 career points, becoming the Nets' all-time leading scorer. Still, it didn't change his fate. A year later, he was traded to the Lakers. 1 season later, the Lakers let him go. Lopez wanted to stay. He even told reporters he would return on a minimum deal if they asked. But the Lakers moved on. Slow feet, inconsistent shooting. Those labels pushed him out of the league conversation. That summer, his market completely dried up. At 29, a former All-Star was nearly out of basketball. Then Milwaukee called, offering a 1-year, $3 million deal. Lopez didn't hesitate. In the summer of 2018, head coach Mike Budenholzer gathered his staff to solve one question. How do we create space for Giannis? As they talked, the sound of jump shots echoed from the gym. It was Lopez, already there, drilling threes. No one told him to do it. He knew it himself, change or disappear. And suddenly, the league witnessed something unexpected. The once slow, back-to-the-basket center turned into a full-on stretch artillery piece. More than that, Lopez still protected the rim, becoming the Bucks' second most important pillar next to Giannis. In 2019, he became the first player in NBA history to make at least 100 threes and block 150 shots in consecutive seasons. That year, he attempted 512 threes, hitting 36% of them. On defense, Budenholzer built a system around Lopez's limitations, keeping him near the rim, minimizing perimeter switches. That balance, rim protection plus spacing, proved invaluable. It all culminated in the 2020-21 season. In 2021, Brook Lopez won an NBA championship, the peak of his career. Just 3 years after nearly falling out of the league, he had climbed all the way back to the top. From franchise centerpiece to injured afterthought, from outdated big to modern stretch five, Lopez tasted basketball's sweetness late, but he never stopped evolving. In 2023, after recovering from back surgery, he went straight back to work. He felt his shooting still wasn't precise enough. All summer long, he lived in the gym, fine-tuning his mechanics, even adjusting the arc to the smallest detail. The next season, he shot 37.4% from three, the best mark of his career, better than many guards. That constant evolution is why Lopez never faded out of the NBA. As Milwaukee aged and injuries mounted, the Bucks drifted toward a crossroads. Yet even at 37, Lopez remained one of the hottest names on the market. Because what he offers isn't just numbers, it's reliability. After last season, Milwaukee signed Miles Turner, and Lopez left for the Clippers on a 2-year, $18 million deal. He proved immediately that he still had plenty left. With the Clippers battered by injuries and Ivica Zubac sidelined, Lopez, once a stationary center himself, became the answer as a spacing big. Just like against Portland. When the team was in trouble, his scorching shooting swung the game, 3 by 3, completing the comeback. From a low-post traditional center to a modern stretch five, Brook Lopez's career mirrors the evolution of basketball itself. He didn't just extend his career with threes, he crossed eras by constantly changing. At 37, hitting 9 threes, Lopez reminded everyone. Old soldiers don't die, they adapt. He's been marginalized by the times, doubted on the bench, but instead of quitting, he chose reinvention. And that choice kept his story alive.